How many companies really survive? How many companies really survive and grow? How many companies survive, grow, and maintain growth? This is the topic that we're going to talk about in our next space coming up on 1st December at 5 pm. Join us to know what it takes for a business to survive, what it takes for a business to grow, and what it takes for a business to maintain its leadership.
Transaction cost versus impact cost. The investor fraternity is increasingly cost obsessed. This is a good thing. It's important for every investor to know how he can contain his costs incurred in the process of investing. Cost reduction is more something built into our psyche. We are not a society which likes to keep on inflating our costs. Some costs began as inflated costs. Broking cost is one such cost. When I entered the stock market, broking costs were in the region of 2 to 3% at the retail level. Today we pay anywhere between 5 and 10 basis points. Demat costs are the second cost. These haven't come down really, and there is a lot of scope to reduce demat costs at transaction level and at account level. I'm sure that you all know how much broking costs have reduced in the last decade. Compare the reduction of demat costs and you will find that demat costs have to catch up and reduce significantly when compared to broking cost. Then you have the mutual fund distribution costs, costs you incur as commissions. Here again, these costs have been coming down, but there is still room for potential reduction. We all know there is room. The regulator is fully aware and fully focused on how this should be done in a transparent and efficient manner. So the direction is known to all and costs are definitely going down. Then within the mutual fund costs of transaction is the choice of going directly and buying a mutual fund scheme from an asset management company or buying through a distributor. Here again, if it is just facilitation of a transaction where you have made up your mind and you know exactly what to buy and you are sure about what you are buying, it's fair to assume that you can go directly and buy from the AMC or from a platform. Again, I see no merit in holding mutual funds in a demat form because that is an incremental cost and you can do well without it. So if you are going through a platform, check whether the platform allows you to buy direct option without demat. Otherwise, you are incurring a cost which you are not calculating. Then, if you don't know which fund scheme to buy, or if you are not sure about that, if you don't have the knowledge to choose a scheme, going through a platform or directly to an AMC is not going to ensure that you are going to make the right investment choices. Here you are setting yourself for a cost of making a judgmental mistake or an error of choice. A lot of people have experienced this in the recent years and they are still wondering what went wrong. Here again, mutual fund investing is seen as very simple, often oversimplified by analysts of mutual funds themselves. And here I want to point out one thing. No mutual fund analyst in the public domain, in the media, can predict today which will be the next best performing fund. They cannot tell you what will be the next best performing fund. What they try to tell you is based on past performance, which is purely a collatory job. It is not an analytical job at all. So today, mutual fund journalism is more a collative exercise and not an analytical exercise. So if you are going to take your cues to invest from this collative exercise and think that you are taking an analytical decision, I think you are wrong. You have to be more careful. So the cost of decision making is something that you are not factoring in, because when you make a mistake, you walk out without calculating that cost and try to go into something else. So in transaction costs, you are not computing the cost of making a mistake in judgment in mutual funds. The same thing applies to stocks, but that's a separate subject. But just remember that those costs also exist. So if you are able to find the right help in making those decisions correctly, eliminating the error for mistakes or eliminating room for error in judgment, then you cannot get that free. You will have to incur a cost, and that cost is not too high when compared with the cost of making a judgmental error or a mistaken choice. No one weighs these two things when they calculate transactional cost. Then we are coming to something more important, which is how much money do you lose in the way you invest? Are you investing when valuations are in your favor or when the valuations are against you? Are you investing when everybody else is investing or investing when no one is investing? Who helps you do that? The way you do this has a cost or a saving. In my assessment, most of the investors investing on their own don't calculate this and often incur a cost and rarely benefit from a saving, because the process works like that. This brings us to the highest cost investors incur, which is the impact cost. As much as people are obsessed about transactional costs, we are indifferent or ignorant to impact cost. When do you incur an impact cost? When you are buying an investment at the same time as everybody else is doing it in the direct equity space. Assume that you are getting a recommendation on Friday evening, Monday morning, millions of people go and buy it. Then the price is going to be high for most of these people. And it's not going to be high by 0.25% or 0.5%. It is going to be higher by several percentage points. This cost is impact cost, and it is happening because everybody is rushing to do the same thing, mimicking each other as part of a herd. Assume everybody is buying defense stocks. Then there's going to be a very high impact cost. Assume everybody is buying only small cap mutual fund schemes, as we are seeing in the last several weeks. The impact cost gets added every single day in the form of higher NAV. And what are people obsessing about? Transaction cost, which is very, very marginal compared to this. Impact cost is a behavioral cost, and investors seldom give it the respect and importance it deserves. And that's the main reason why investors make lesser returns or fail to make decent returns. Because when impact cost is the highest, if you are going to make an investment, and even if you save on the transaction cost, you are still going to make a real loss because of very, very high and unbearable impact cost. This is something which investors need to be more cognizant about. Some places where the impact cost is the highest are small case, portfolios where you are buying predictably the same companies again and again, which is small cap mutual fund schemes, micro cap indexes or indices, hot teams like defense, railways, or whatever comes up at a particular point in time. I want to point out that impact cost was highest in the chemical space not too long ago. It was highest in the small sized technology company space, and it keeps shifting. So whenever there is a fancy hot theme, impact cost goes up. Investors who are obsessed about transaction costs must pay some attention to impact cost, because that is what is destroying your investment performance. As a professional, I am obsessed about reducing impact cost, because I know that you cannot deliver performance if you are indifferent to it. I know a lot of people think they don't matter, but I think in a very competitive stock market like India, where valuations are already running high, you cannot ignore impact cost, and you must be very, very worried and cognizant about their impact. But my grievance is that the small investor doesn't care, and often he mistakes high impact cost for investment performance without realizing that when the tide turns, the same impact cost will be higher on the downside, and he would probably fall faster into loss when more people sell the same stocks irrationally. Impact cost is the price of investor irrationality, which is thrust on anybody who buys those areas or those stocks which are seeing a very high impact of impact cost. Be very certain that you are not buying a stock where the impact cost is high. Be very certain that you are not participating in the equity market with a strategy that always has high impact cost. Only then you will minimize the prospect of loss and create better opportunities to make profits. Transaction cost is important, but impact cost is much bigger as an impactful element on your investment performance. Give it the respect it deserves. Give it its due, otherwise it's going to come and hurt you. Thank you for watching this video.